when the United States wanted to fly to Afghanistan through Russia, that kind
For
of
example,
thing.
because I think that the
Islamic threat.
America and Russia were best friends the next day after
September 11th.
September 11th, when Putin came on air and said that we're with America, we suffer with America, we support America. That was, let's say, a really friendly handshake. Something has been broken since that time. But I think that unfortunately, maybe we need some kind of other challenge for all of us to understand that we are friends and not enemies.
The U.S. is gearing up for another election. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be, at least the U.S. will have a new president. Maybe that'll be an opportunity for rebuilding the relationship. Who do you rather see in the White House? Would you rather see?
No. No.
Are you a businessman or a politician? You're talking like a politician. Come on.
First, I'm a businessman. I live in Russia. I don't predict even the result of next elections in Russia.
Oh, wow.
Why do you want me to predict
That means you're a very
result of
conservative man.
elections?
You've got a lot of interest. And sanctions, remember last year, we heard a lot from the Obama administration saying that, look at how much the ruble's weakened. That's because sanctions are working.
Well, I think that ruble is more dependent on oil prices than on any other factor, including sanctions. And if you ask me about our, let's say, internal problems and sanctions, I would say that our internal problems in our economy, in our functioning of our economy, maybe gives a bigger input in currency problem than sanctions.
And how have the sanctions affected you?
Oh, nobody is immune from, let's say, influence of external factors, but formally we are not under sanctions. Of course, the general situation would be better without sanctions, because it doesn't allow us to borrow more money at a cheap price.
Yeah.
It creates some psychological problems for our partners. Sometimes we are not quite sure whether they should go further with the project or not. But it became a bit more difficult, but it still is moving in the same direction. And we get what we want from our partners, and they get what they want from us.
The sanctions were one of the reasons why we saw that dramatic depreciation of the ruble. You were actually a beneficiary of sanctions because metals costs in rubles decreased, and you continued to sell your commodities in dollars, which is why you've seen your wealth skyrocket over the last year.
That's true. Of course, as a company who produces almost all its production for export, of course we win from the devaluation of ruble, but we shouldn't forget about other problems which we start facing immediately, the level of life of our employers, and we need to give them more money. Then we shouldn't forget about the fact that we are in the middle of our modernization program, and we pay a lot of currency for foreign currency to get different import stuff from abroad, which means that we benefit from that, but it's not as much as it could be.
you see nickel prices going? Norilsk is one of the biggest producers of nickel in the world. I think you control a little bit more than a seventh of the market. Are they going to go up?
Predictions are always a difficult job, right? Well, I can say that we are confident that the situation in the nickel market is improving, and the market turns into deficit, and the growth in China is very helpful. But when people are talking about growth in China,
This is growth in demand.
yes, it's growth in demand. It's not just the macroeconomic metrics we should just implement. It's a question that the steel production grows about 2% in China, but nickel consumption is growing by 9%, which means that it's we're not
Not just talking about steel.
I'm just not talking about pure macroeconomical things, but we are talking about consumers, and consumers of nickel are consuming more nickel, increasing this consumption 9% a year. That's why we think that for Norilsk Nickel, it's a good piece of news.
Traditionally, nickel has been used in stainless steel manufacturing. But another area it's used is in batteries. And Norilsk recently has said that you see the use of batteries in electric cars and hybrid cars as being a real growth driver for what you mine.
Yeah, you're quite right. And the growth in those premium sectors are higher than in steel production. That's why we need to be more focused on those areas. But in order to go there, we need first to control our costs in order to better understand how to improve the quality of our product and how we can change the product chain. Because it's not only industrial logic, but it's also financial logic. And without controlling our costs and without implementing right investment discipline, we could not move to the premium areas.
I want to ask you about palladium, because you're setting up a palladium fund where you, together with Roman Abramovich and Oleg Deripaska, as far as I understand, intend to go out there and buy up to $2 billion worth of palladium. Explain that to me.
It's very simple. For Norilsk Nickel, palladium is a strategic metal. We produce over 40% of the world production of palladium. The existence of untransparent stock is a factor which has a negative impact on pricing, on consumers' confidence in physical availability of the product.
Non-transparent stock, you mean like stuff that hedge funds?
Hedge funds are more transparent.
So you want to make it transparent?
Yes, of course, it will help.
So you want to make money?
When we believe that the prices for palladium will be improving because of different factors, because of structural deficit in the market, because of the spread between platinum and palladium, which we think is unfairly high, because the quality of palladium and platinum for autocar producers is the same, and the value is the same, which means that the spread between palladium and platinum is going to narrow further in the future. Which means that for limited partners in this fund, this is potentially an interesting investment. And for Norilsk Nickel, it's important to make it transparent first, and second, to be agent through which the sales are going through. It's also very important to keep, let's say, hand on the stock, and it's both advantages for investors.
Gives you more control.
Yes, it gives more control, and it gives the access to consumers. And when you have an industrial player together with the financial players, it becomes transparent and more clear for consumers.
And the financial player, is that Bank of America Merrill Lynch?
Oh, it's early to go to this stage right now, because there is no deal with the central bank yet.
Right.
But
you need to deal with the central bank to sell you their reserves before this project goes forward.
Yeah, we're just negotiating with them the frame agreement right now. As soon as it's in place, we'll
announce who that
Yes, we'll announce it, and we'll work with our potential partners and lenders.
Oil seems to be it's been rising this year dramatically, hasn't it? But now maybe it's finding a new home.
Even with the prices for nickel or palladium, I'm not
Scratching your head.
brave enough to give you numbers. But I think that in oil prices, it's a certain trade or a certain compromise between the traditional producers and their budget targets, and between shale oil and the new, let's say, technologies. It's a certain trade and a certain attempt to find a compromise, a balance.
Right.
And
Many people say that's roughly where we are now.
yes, that's exactly what I mean. Maybe we are around some kind of balanced situation, but the technology improves very fast, right?
Right.
That's why when we say that now it's more or less balanced, it might change within quarters.
Whereby you can have more production, more supply, and a lower oil price.
Lower price. But again, it's a trade. When the price is too low, there is no encouragement for the investments in shale oil. But when it's too high, the traditional producers are not satisfied. If somebody could know or predict the price for a commodity such as oil, it would become the richest. It would become the richest man in the world, right? That's why we are talking about.
You're the richest man in Russia, so you're not a bad person to ask.
And that was without oil.
I was without oil.
In my portfolio.
Yeah.
Which means that we have potential.
We don't know about that. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Planet Earth. Life here is getting better. Big businesses and small are crossing more borders, bringing prosperity and optimism into people's lives. This is the power of global trade. Of course, there's still a long way to go, but the more the world keeps on trading, the better it's going to get for everyone, everywhere. That's why we'll deliver today, tomorrow, and the day after.
What a beautiful thing to behold. The sum total of all human endeavor. Our triumphs, our follies, our passions. It's the collective story of humankind, told second by second, in changing highs and lows. Welcome to a market and all markets. Welcome to FX Pro.
It was supposed to be another straightforward victory for incumbent FIFA President Joseph Sepp Blatter, but because of the US Department of Justice indicting 9 current